I'm Georgina Lewis here at Augusta-Richmond County Public Library, your favorite librarian in training. And we're here for another monthly book talk, something warm and cozy for the holidays. We're here speaking to USA Today's best-selling author, Miss Siera London. And she today will be spilling the tea on Enduring Christmas. Thank you for being here with me today, virtually.
Thank you for having me, Georgina.
All right, so Enduring Christmas, I had an opportunity to read it, and it was just super warm, super cozy. But for your potential readers and for patrons who already love you, tell us a little bit about Enduring Christmas.
Sure. So Enduring Christmas is actually the final book in my Men of Endurance series. And it features our hero, Luke Cole, who's a single father. Actually, all the heroes in the Men of Endurance series are single dads. And our heroine, Zenobia Yardell. And I love this story because Luke is the father of a 5-year-old by the name of Shiloh. And like any parent, he wants to give his daughter the magic of Christmas. And he worries, he's like, I got to be mom, I got to be dad, I got to be Santa. He has every Christmas themed play set, decorating paraphernalia, you name it, he has it, and he's going to put it up for his little girl, and he just wants to give her the best, and he's not sure that he can. And then he runs into Zenobia, who's out ice skating, and they are enemies. Zenobia has a history of a bad relationship, and she's attracted to Luke, and she knows it, and she resents him for it. She is so upset that he makes her like him because she just doesn't want to feel that. She doesn't want to feel love or that attraction. And this crazy woman goes and falls through the ice, and Luke has to save her. And they live in a very small town. Endurance is like 1,261 people. It's very small. And he has to take her home because, of course, the nurse is not in town, the nurse practitioner. She's not in town. So he has to take care of her. And so their journey starts from there, bringing Zenobia home and them being stuck together in his cabin, which I love. I love a hero at Christmas.
Well, it felt wonderful. It felt warm and cozy, and all the characters were so lovable. The town of Endurance actually really stuck out to me. I guess you could say I'm from a small city. It feels like a town to me, but it's definitely considered a city. So all the people and stuff that felt really familiar. So where did you get like the inspiration for the town of Endurance?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Endurance is actually based on a real city in California, because that's where I lived at the time when I started writing the series. It's based on Auburn, California, which is actually the endurance capital. It's sports endurance, okay? Endurance sports capital of the world. So it's one of those places where people do 100-mile foot races, that take several days along the American River. So it's a beautiful town. I actually drove to Auburn, California to do my research for Endurance. And the town is quite quaint and quite lovely, but it's about a block. It's about a block long. And but it's full of cute little mom and pop shops, kind of like Endurance in the book. And it so inspired me that I was like, this is my town. Auburn is Endurance. Because I walked in, and the first restaurant I walked into, and I think it was only 2 in the town, everybody turned and looked at me. And I was like, yes, this is the place that I want Endurance to be. where you walk in and everybody turns to see who it is, and they probably know you. And if you're a stranger, they will know that too and remember. And that's what I love about Endurance, because it's the perfect place for a single dad, you know, where everybody knows your kid's going to be safe. And if they see anything out of character, you're going to get a phone call, because that's how I grew up in my community. I'm not from a small city. I'm from Jacksonville, but my community was very small and quaint. And everybody knew your mama and your grandmama, and they would let them know if they saw you anywhere you weren't supposed to be. And that's how Endurance is.
Yeah, and that's probably why Endurance felt so familiar. I definitely, like I said, I come from like a small city, and like you say, our community is pretty doggone small. So, like you say, people knew your grandma, everything, people nosy,
Yes.
like all of that. I felt that from Endurance, but it was wonderfully familiar. So we're gonna get into these characters. So, um, Zenobia, I definitely want to talk about her character. I love that she was a teacher. I really enjoyed that. I think that fit so well with, especially with him being a single dad and him having Shiloh. So, what was the inspiration behind Zenobia? Did you put a piece of yourself? I always ask authors this, like, did you put a piece of yourself in Zenobia? Tell me a little bit about her.
So, a couple of things. So, yes, there's always a piece of myself in every character, and probably every woman that I write, there's a piece of me in it. From the teaching standpoint, so my mom used to be an elementary school teacher, like Zenobia, and she would always have stories to tell when she came home. She would just have me laughing, even as an adult. Like, the stories she would tell me would have me rolling. So there's so many kids that I never met that I remember because of her stories. So yes, I love bringing that to the page, like something that's familiar to me. And I don't know about you, but I still remember some of my teachers. Like, I can remember my fourth grade teacher that I just loved to death, you know?
Yeah, I definitely do. I had Miss Reeves as a history teacher, and like I had some incredible history teachers, and that actually is what led me to get my bachelor's in history. Like, just remembering like them and how warm and how amazing they were.
Yeah, and so I love writing about women who are familiar to us that we can connect with, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I love that about Zenobia. But also, the thing I can relate to about Zenobia is she's a woman who's had her heart broken. She's had her heart broken to the point where she actually left the city where she was before the story starts. And Endurance is actually a new home for her. She's new to town. And she kind of likes that. She likes being totally disconnected from her past. And I think that's what has her so riled up about Luke, in that love was a part of her past. It's not her present. And it's not something she anticipates for her future. And just like the magic of Christmas, he makes her feel like, ooh, like this feels familiar, which also makes her very vulnerable. And she lashes out at him every time, you know, that she can. Like, she really just like rips into him, like, just stay away. Like, she doesn't even want to unpackage what can come with the possibility of a new love.
Well, I think Luke was the perfect pair. So I just would like to say that Luke was awesome. Like, he was, a dad, and he was a great shooter. Like, he was very like, this is what I want. This is what I want. You need to figure out if you want it too. And I loved it. I was like, that's so refreshing. If only all guys, all men were like that, that would be fabulous. So, what was the inspiration for Luke, especially?
Okay. So I love that about Luke too. I really do. And there's a part of Luke that very much reminds me of my husband when we were dating. My husband is a very straight shooter, and he's from a small town, and he approaches things in a small town way, which is black and white. It's just cut to the chase. And so I can remember we had a long distance relationship, and I mean, not like city to city. I lived in Japan and he lived in California. And
Wow.
so when we decided we were gonna do this thing, like we're gonna walk it out, we're gonna get engaged, we're gonna get married. And I flew from Japan to California, and we drove across country to South Carolina so we could get to know each other better. Yeah, yeah. And so we're rolling down 95 South, and we're about to get off of 95 and go into this small town where he lives. It's at a little place called Sumter, South Carolina. I had never been there. I had never heard of it. And he pulls off on 95 and he goes, listen to me. I'm going to introduce you to my mama and to my grandmama. And I'm not going to introduce you as my girlfriend. So once you meet them, that's it. You're not going nowhere. And I was like, okay, that sounds a little scary, but I'm in this thing to win it. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get married. He's like, okay, I'm just telling you. Once they meet you, that's it.
Wow.
We together.
I love it. I love it. I can definitely see that in Luke. Like, I can definitely see that. That is, wow.
Yeah, that's Luke.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Whew. All right. So, and thank you for all those little stories. Let me get myself back.
Yeah, I got stories.
I love it. I love that. So when I read Enduring Christmas, for me, it was warm and fuzzy. Like I said, it definitely put me in a mind of like a familiar coziness for the holidays. And so what is something that you feel like you wanted to be conveyed as people read it?
Yeah. So definitely what you said. I want Endurance, not just this book, but the whole series to be a series that does feel warm and comfortable to you, that you can get lost in over and over again. Endurance is the type of place that you want to visit after a bad day, because you know good things happen in Endurance. And I love that about the series. I love that you meet heroes in the series that make you feel like this is the type of man I would want in my life. This is the type of man I would want my daughter to meet, or my best friend. Like, this is what I would want for the women in my life. That's what I love about the men of Endurance, because they're all like that, right? But in particular with Luke and Zenobia's story, because both of them have been hurt. Luke has been hurt. Obviously, he's been through some things because he's a single parent. So you know he's been in a relationship. And you discovered Zenobia's been in a bad relationship where she's been betrayed. Both of them have been betrayed. But just like the magic of Christmas, there's hope in their love story, in their journey together. And that's what we all want to feel. I think especially at the holidays, we want to feel a sense of connection, which you instantly feel between Luke and Zenobia once he brings her home. And his little girl just cuddles right up to her, and they have a cat named Meow who does all in the mix. And and she just welcomed right into the fold. And I think that's what we all want at Christmas, because she's new to this town. So in some ways she's a stranger. But at the holidays, I think we feel especially open to bringing people in, to embracing people, to making everyone feel like they have a sense of belonging. And that's what I wanted in Endurance for Christmas, for you to feel that magic of Christmas, that there is hope, even after heartbreak, that second chances can be better than the first chance. And I love that about their story together.
Well, I think you did an excellent job in conveying that. And not only that, but I love like the cute, funny moments that was in it. I know we didn't talk a lot about Shiloh, but like one of my favorite Shiloh moments was when Zenobia's her ex-husband's brother, pops into town, essentially to check on her and stuff like that. Because she hadn't really been picking up the phone. And, they have a conversation, and part of the conversation, it's completely friendly, but he kisses her. And Shiloh sees this, and Shiloh's like, bad Santa. Like, she's like, bad Santa. And, you know, it's like, I don't like Santa anymore. And I just absolutely adored it. And I loved how Shiloh, you know, just really went in and kind of like started protecting and just caring for her and having her in the fold, and that Zenobia is what she wanted for Christmas. It was just so sweet. I just really loved it. It was so great.
Yeah, and I love like the children in Endurance, especially Shiloh, like they say sometimes what the adults don't say, right?
Yeah.
And children do that all the time, which is why we have to watch them. Like you sit right there. Don't say nothing, sit right there. And that's very much what Shiloh does. Like she sees this Santa kissing Zenobia, and she knows like kissing is for like mommies and daddies, right? So and she's with my daddy, so this has to be a bad Santa.
Yes. Oh.
And I love that not only is Luke protective of Zenobia, because he says, who kissed Zenobia? But Shiloh is also equally protective of her. And so, you know, right from the beginning, when you see them together in Luke's cabin, because we love a man with a cabin, right, in the snow. So right when you see them together, you can see the possibility of them being a happy family together.
Yeah.
And I love that as well. And it starts very early on in the journey. And when Zenobia's past presents itself, physical manifestation with Ramsey coming to town, her new family is like, whoa, like she's ours now, right? But I love that with Ramsey, even though he's from her past and Zenobia in a way is running from her past, that he still comes to check on her. Because that's what we should do, right? That's what we should do. Like, especially around the holidays, like you can't check on the people that you care about. And so even though she's been hurt by his brother, he still considers her family. And I love that. Yes.
I think around this time of year, you know, we want to make sure that we check on our loved ones. You know, with everything that's going on, it's hard to physically spend time with them, but to definitely check on them and love on them. Most of my holidays are very much friend-centered holidays. And so my mother is a nurse. And that's something I've talked about before, but you know, someone has to work on the holidays. Someone has to kind of keep things going. My mom is usually the person to do that. And because of that, I spend a lot of Friendsgivings and holidays with friends, you know, the family that you met and you picked. I like to say the family that you picked, you know, for holidays. And so I thought that was a really sweet sentiment.
No, I totally can relate too. I mean, we're a military family. And so oftentimes, not only do we welcome people into our home, and that's something, you know, we miss right now with what's going on in the world, but people have welcomed us into their home as well. I can remember about 2 years ago, we actually arrived in California about 2 days before Thanksgiving. 2 days before Thanksgiving, and we were staying in a hotel. And one of the prior military families invited us over for Thanksgiving. And that meant so much to us.
Right. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the holidays and different things like that. And in the book, there are a lot of little holiday like traditions and different things like that Shiloh, Meow, Luke, and Zenobia all participated in. So what is a holiday tradition for like you and your family?
Definitely decorating. So generally I put up 3 to 5 trees.
Oh, wow.
I absolutely love Christmas trees. I love shopping for ornaments and adding them to the collection. Last year we had a black tuxedo tree decorated in white doves and silver snowflakes and gold bulbs, and a totally black tree. We're a military family. We had a red, white, and blue tree decorated with red, white, and blue bows. We had military boots on it and ornaments from all over the world. where we've traveled, and then we had a green and red tree outside in the front of the house. So we had a tree inside, we had one outside in the front, inside the house in the main foyer, and then outside on the back patio. And the house was covered in lights and giant white bows that we made out of ribbon and zip ties, just huge bows on all the posts and the light fixtures. It was just beautiful. And yeah, I get it from my mama. My mother, when we were growing up, she absolutely adored decorating for Christmas. And we would have so many boxes. My brother and I would help her pull out the Santa Claus, the snowman, the reindeer, all types of different lights, all the different trees, the bulbs she had saved, the terrible ones that we'd made through the years. You name it, it was on the house. We didn't have a Griswold size house, but we definitely had a Griswold size Christmas. We we had stuff everywhere. And she still does that to this day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even though we're good and grown. I'm over 50, but she still does that.
That is a lot. My grandmother was the one to do a lot of the decorating, and my mom, when she could, she liked decorating. I am not the decorator. I am definitely not the decorator. I am very much the cook, the present giver, the present opener.
Oh, I like that too.
Like, I'm that person, but I have two friends, one of them being Kamisha Bratter from Adult Services, who I know loves to decorate and craft, and then my own best friend in Atlanta. Like, they're the type to put the tree up right after Thanksgiving. So I already know I'm going to get pictures of decorated Christmas trees sometime after Christmas. So kudos to all you decorators out there. My Christmas spirit is in my heart.
Yeah. In and out. It both works. It all works. It all works. Oh, goodness.
Well, as we wrap this up, I want to ask you one final question. So for those out there that are inspiring authors or inspiring writers, and those who just have a story in their head they want to put down, what advice would you give to them?
That's a great question. So a couple of things, and I'll try and be brief, but if you're a storyteller, and I say if you're a storyteller, because if you have a story that you're passionate about, that you want to tell, embrace that you're a storyteller and write your story. We all have stories, but not everyone has the passion to put their story down with pen and paper or type it out and share it with the world. And no one can tell that story, even if it's familiar. No one can tell it like you can. And I often think that the mistake new writers make is trying to write to other people's voices. Your voice is what you want to pour into the world, what you want to pour onto the page. So trust that instinct. Write your story. Don't censor yourself at all. Put it down just the way you hear it, because no one has to see it until you want them to. So however that story comes to you, put it down on the page. It doesn't mean that's what people will ultimately see. I've done that so many times where I have a different version of the story than what's released. And I love them both, but one's for me because I'm the reader too. So the first story belongs to me.
I like that.
Right. And the other one I put out into the world to share with you. But there's pieces, just like, how we are as women, there's pieces of you that you know better than anybody else. And there'll be pieces of that story that you know better than anybody else. And the rest of it you share with the world. So trust your voice, write your story.
Wow. Thank you so much for that advice.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So that has been our monthly book talk. You already know. So if you want books like Enduring Christmas and other warm, cozy themes for Thanksgiving all the way through all the holidays, then make sure you check out Augusta-Richmond County Public Library. You can either curbside or come inside. Yes, we are open, but if you want to have limited contact, you can go into Pines and you can place that item on hold. And you can either come inside to have limited contact and get your materials, or you can pull up and we'll bring those books right out to your car. Also, if you want your ebooks and your audiobooks, we're now on Libby. So make sure you go to our website so that you can see how you can sign up for Libby and get your audio and ebooks. We want to thank you again, Ms. London, for speaking with us today. We really appreciate it. All right, y'all. Until next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you so much too for all that you do. Open the world to young people and to all of us through books. I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank best-selling author, USA Today best-selling author Olivia Gaines as well for connecting us. That's really important to me. So happy
Right.
holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you. Bye.